Hey, this is Eddie Archer. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I run and own a private practice called Anchor Point Family Services. So I want to take a moment and tell you about the one thing that you lose when you utilize medical insurance for mental health needs. Now, listen, I am going to be bashing on medical insurance, but before I go there, I want to say two things that I think is going to vindicate me and prove me blameless. One is that there's nothing wrong with insurance. So just so you know, I'm not anti-insurance. In fact, nothing goes before your mental health. Do whatever it takes to get healthy because you deserve it and your family deserves it. All right, even if you have to use your insurance, if that's the option for you, then do it. And don't let anything else I have to say here stop you from that. Okay, so the other thing I want to say is that if you have a therapist, your ideal therapist already, and they receive or accept your insurance, you better love and cherish that therapist with all your heart. Because not only are they great for you, but they also take your insurance. And I want you to know that these guys usually work twice as hard to make sure those services are met, which means that their documentation has to be on point. They have to run after making sure bills are paid, and all these other things that they have to jump through. And they usually only get a fourth of what they're worth from your insurance company. So just keep that in mind as you have the ideal scenario, your ideal therapist that receives and accepts your insurance. Okay, so then let's go on to the one thing that you lose when you utilize your medical insurance for your mental health needs. Okay, so the main thing you lose is control. You lose control. And I'm going to talk about 5 different ways that you tend to lose control because of using medical insurance for mental health. All right. So the first thing you lose is you might lose control over whether you even get to participate in therapy. Right? So most PPOs and most HMOs require a pre-authorization before you can even begin services. So that means that somebody has to get on the phone and prove the case why you deserve to be in therapy. And they have to do that with somebody on the other line of the phone who may or may not be a mental health practitioner and understand the ins and outs of that. So that's something to keep in mind. All right. So that's one thing that you lose. Number 2 is you might lose when you actually get to start therapy. And when you go through your insurance company, they'll give you a list of pre-approved therapists. And the truth is that they work this list pretty hard. So there tends to be a waiting list when you are trying to begin services. So you might have to wait before you can even jump in and get started. So number 3, you lose control over who you even get to work with. So this limited list that your insurance company gives you is kind of like choosing a therapist on there. It's kind of like rolling a dice. You're not sure if this person might be a good fit for you specifically, if they are a match for your personality, if they're a good fit for you. Even their theories and the way that they work, something that you may not have control over. So you're crossing your fingers and hoping that you get somebody that's going to work with you and work for you. Or you might end up getting somebody that you just hope you can get some value out of that time in therapy from. So number 4, you might actually lose what type of therapy you have access to do. For example, in some of the behavioral health agencies that offer very low cost for services, they often are funded by grants or other funding sources. And because of that, they're very limited in how therapy looks. So it might be in-home only or at the office only, or they might only utilize a specific kind of therapy model. And you know what, that just isolates what you're able to do in therapy, and you're not necessarily able to find a therapy type that'll fit for you because you'll be limited to what they offer. And this is a big one. Number 5, you lose control over your information. So it's not just your therapist that has access to your diagnosis, your notes, your treatment plans, but basically everyone else involved in your case would have access to that, like a supervisor, random auditors that might come in, everyone at your insurance company that's handling your paperwork and handling your claims. They all have access to that information, so it limits how private your journey would be. All right, so if that's not bad enough, one of the things that has to happen if you utilize your medical insurance for mental health is your therapist is required to write down a diagnosis. right? That goes into your file. And the way that impacts you is that it follows you. So your future insurance claims might be denied based on that record of a mental health diagnosis. You might have issues with getting life insurance later. You might have issues with getting a loan for your business. You might have issues with financial aid, and that record can be brought back up in courts if it applies there. So something to keep in mind is that stamp, that label, it's actually becomes a part of your file. So here's what I believe. Your mental health is nobody's business except yours. You know, the journeys that we go through in life are meant for us to overcome them and stand on them as platforms and become stronger. But when you utilize your medical insurance for mental health, that struggle becomes a file. And it tends to follow you and define you and control you in ways that are not fair. And for this reason, I try to limit my interaction with insurance companies because I really want to empower my clients to own their own mental health journey and to walk through that with freedom. And instead, I'd rather spend time helping them learn how to afford and be able to finance those sessions through a private therapist or through private means. So what I'm wanting to do in my next video, and you can look out for it, it'll be focused on how can you afford your ideal therapist? How can you pay for it? What are key conversations you can start having that'll allow you to be able to afford it moving forward? Again, my name is Eddie Archer. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And if you want to find out more of what I'm doing, feel free to go to apfamilycounseling.com, and thank you.